This is the Tabernacle Podcast with Martin Rizzi.
Sir.
And me, John Vermilia. And this was the first time, Martin, that I wasn't looking directly at Matt to give me the cue that the intro music was done. Are you happy now?
I'm proud of you. It's as if he's not here, like a producer.
Well, I'm proud of you because apparently you watch these podcasts.
I do.
And as we discussed, I don't have to because I'm usually on them and I live them. And I'm about to live one right now. But now I'm going to be self-conscious of that.
Well, don't look over there.
It's like just being told that you've been preaching for 6 years with your fly open.
And
right?
Somebody finally told you.
Then somebody finally told me.
John, I just want you to know that means I am your best friend.
No.
Because somebody has to tell you.
Stop. Tabernacle family, we are fired up. I'm fired up because we have a special guest today. Another guest from kind of the network of the Tabernacle. I first met you, Miss Avery McCutcheon, probably 3 years ago. Was that what it was?
Yeah, that's the ballpark.
Ballpark. Yes.
We were both very tired, so it's hard to...
Well, you were tired. I had no excuse, okay? You were very tired. So Avery has served with youth ministry, and she was the camp nurse. She got roped into being the camp nurse at camp 21, 22, 23, 24. I
really don't know. It was at least 2 camps.
We can't verify these dates, but she was at some camps.
Well, because I'm a World Cup aficionado, I will tell you it was 22.
True.
Yes,
yeah.
It was World Cup 2022. It was a big World Cup. And I'm home watching the World Cup, and I get a phone call from a random person, random phone number.
Weird area code.
And said, hey, your son is sick at camp. You probably should come pick him up. And you pick up the story.
I led with 104 fever.
104 fever. Yes, you led with that. And I was watching the World Cup, and my response was,
did you give him meds? Are you sure?
Just give him some decongestant.
Yeah, he could just rest.
Yeah, just have him rest.
I said, who is this guy?
Sleep it off, Benji.
Who is this guy?
I'm not the medical professional. My wife was not available. But I gladly got in the car because I'm able to at least listen to the game the rest of the way. And then there you were with a big smile. And you didn't shame me there. You still had that wonderful smile. And you were just like, here's your kid. Sign him out. Let's go home. But that's when we first met.
Yep. It's like, who is this John?
I'm sorry. I'm a bad dad. No, I'm just
growing.
Just growing. Yes.
Just
thanks.
Growing.
Hey, Martin.
I got you.
Well done, bro.
But if I had known the World Cup context, I would have had more grace to give, even in the moment calling.
So for the last 3 years, it's been like that one dad. Wow, just didn't care about his son. Just let him, have a seizure. I don't know. He didn't have a seizure.
He didn't.
That
but
is
people,
the threat. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like the disclaimer should be.
So for people,
Benji did survive.
He did survive. No seizures. But he looks back on that going, I was really sick. I was talking to him just this morning.
Yeah, you just talked to him this morning. He was like...
And you know what's crazy is everyone in the office can recall that too. Yeah. Like when Benji was super sick.
When he was super sick. And I'm just like, hey, bud. Yeah, he doesn't talk a lot. So, yeah, that's a little bit weird. But so just for future reference, at what point should we really pay attention to the thermometer? Is it 101? Is it 102?
Well, it depends on the person, but 104 is really, really high.
Okay.
And if meds don't touch it and it's still 104,
bad things happen.
Yeah.
Okay. See, now I know. Yeah. 104, and I learned it.
Now you've been
from
told.
Avery. Yeah.
What's your blood pressure?
Don't ask me that right now. It is good. It is good. But let's get to the content at hand. Avery McCutcheon is here with us today because she is the executive director of the Thrive Medical Clinic, which specializes in pregnancy confirmation ultrasounds. And just right here on your website, it says pregnancy solutions, resources, and support. And I don't know, well, let's just call it a medical clinic because I consider it a ministry, but I don't know if you prefer that.
It's bizarre. I feel like an executive director wears a lot of hats anyway, but it's especially true for this organization because we are a nonprofit, we are a licensed medical clinic, and we are trying to be capital C church.
Got it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And that's why you're on today.
Yep.
And so just recently had the opportunity Well, as a church, we've tried to be involved with, because it's a 501c3, with financial support, partnership, however you want to term that in the nonprofit world. But I got to go to the Thrive Gala event, and it was an event. And Martin, you missed it.
I did.
You missed. I learned a ton, and most of it, most of it came from you and the other people that were sharing from the podium the testimonies of the young ladies that were there. I saw a bunch of people that I knew. I'm like, oh, you're here. Oh, see, Martin, it was a place to see and be seen.
Yeah.
Is exactly
and that's
what
why
it
I
was.
avoid those
Meal
places.
was lovely. We, as my daughter Isabel, who was with us, who's also on staff here at our church, she brought her husband. She was like, "Oh, it's a chance to dress up and get a babysitter." She was so excited, but it was so much more than that. So
yeah, we squeezed 430 people in there.
That's
I came
amazing.
out of there going, there must have been 1,000 people there, and then I was like, "Wait a minute, I don't think my numbers are quite right." But yeah, it was a squeeze, but it was good. So Avery, let's start with you before we jump in more with Thrive. Who is Avery, this girl from Texas, and how in the world did you get to Michigan? And how in the world did you become from camp nurse, which I know you were more than just a camp nurse, but how did you go from camp nurse to executive director
From
of an
Benji's advocate
exactly
to executive director?
That was the stepping stone.
yeah, to parent rebuker. Yeah,
full circle today. Full circle.
Yeah.
So I was born and raised in Dallas, Texas, and every summer as a kid, we would spend 2 weeks here with family. We have on my mom's side of the family, they have a cabin on Little Traverse Lake.
Oh, nice.
And we would spend 2 weeks here at the end of June, and it was prime Michigan summer.
Right.
In between Leland and Glen Arbor, just the
Oh, wow. Totally different from Dallas, Texas. I've been to Dallas, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Which is great. Everything's bigger in Texas, but
it is
hot.
It's so hot. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're probably, when you're here in June and July, we're like, man, it's hot.
Yep.
Here.
Yeah.
And you're like, you haven't seen nothing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're used to your seatbelt burning you, and the visor's not actually doing much to keep
Yeah.
it's hot. And even like you don't swim in the water when it's too hot because things grow.
Yes.
You shouldn't swim in. So
Wow. Yeah.
it's just totally different world. But yeah, spent summers here as a kid. And then I went to University of Arkansas and got my bachelor's in nursing in the midst of COVID. And so COVID affected my nursing school as well as my first few years of nursing, which is crazy. But also I didn't have any baseline. So I think to some extent it was a blessing to not know what the hospital was like and what nursing school was like before COVID, because as I talk to people, it has changed a lot. And then I wanted to do travel nursing, and you can't do travel nursing with all these new assignments until you have experience in a certain specialty. And I didn't want to get that experience in Texas. And so I said, I'm just going to run travel nursing by getting experience in a new place, just without that travel nurse pay, right?
Right.
Yeah.
My niece did that for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
That was good. It paid off nursing school.
Oh, yeah. So I came here. Yeah. I started in the ER at Munson and worked there. Oh, the timeline is so hard. Maybe for year and a half, 2 years, something like that. Maybe 2.5. I don't know. Because it was also in the midst of COVID, and I had just moved across the country.
That's a blur. And
yeah,
usually what we say at the tab, it's the pandemic of which we will not talk about.
Yep.
Or which will not be named.
Crazy.
We're just tired of it, right?
Yep.
But
I can't even
it's all a blur.
Moments.
It's all a blur.
Mm-hmm. At some point in that time at the hospital, I transitioned to NICU. So then I was a nurse in the NICU. And after that, I ended up at Thrive. Initially, I was the Thrive Forward director, which is like our continued support, which includes maternity and baby supplies, mentorship, and continued connections to resources. And I was overseeing that team. And I had my head down, was learning leadership apparently I was being observed by my predecessor, Rhonda Reedy, and she pursued me for the ED role that she had been doing a nationwide search for. And we were meeting applicants, like all the things.
Real quick.
Yeah.
So you went from NICU
Yeah.
to the Pregnancy Care Center.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a coincidence. Was there a connection there? Was that kind of what was driving it?
Yeah. I've always loved kids. When growing up, I was never like a cat or dog person. I always just wanted to play with babies.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But in nursing school, it was kind of a reality check. Like, okay, I love children. Can I be there for them as a nurse in crisis? Like, I may not be able to do that.
Emotionally. Mentally, emotionally.
Yeah, I may not be able to be a good person to do that. And in the ER, you're caring for everybody, everyone. And so I got to take care of kiddos, and I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. Like, I'm gonna pursue the babies. And so I did. And it was really hard for so many reasons, which I'm sure you can imagine.
I have a huge heart for NICU nurses. Our daughter was in NICU for 6
Really?
weeks, and I still think they're just some of the most amazing people in the world, because your parents are just clueless at that point. We're scared,
See,
and we're looking to somebody who has
Huge.
something that they can help us with. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like, you're here for the babies, and yet I was meeting all of these grieving parents who would do anything to switch places with their child.
Right.
And it was so hard not being able to support those parents. Especially when I know, yes, this baby's going through a lot, but they're pushing through and they don't know what's happening. There's only so much that they can hold on to. So your experience of their reality is not their experience of their reality. And so the grief that these parents were experiencing was just, I had never experienced anything like that. And I felt so helpless. And it was taking a toll on me to not care for those parents in the way that they so desperately needed and wanted from me. In those moments when I needed to go chart, they wanted me to sit with them, and they had so much that they needed to walk through. And there's so much unknown in the NICU too.
Yeah.
Things can go from totally kosher to really, really bad, really fast. And then it can be the worst day ever. And then all of a sudden, baby beats whatever was hard. So
They're
NICU
so
changes
fragile,
fast.
but still resilient. at
Oh
that
yeah.
age.
They compensate really well. Yeah. And so it was my not being able to meet those parents in the ways that they so desperately needed that motivates me at Thrive.
Yeah. How'd you first hear about Thrive?
I'm sure I heard about it at church, at one of the local churches here, but I lived with my friend Leah, who worked at Thrive, and then my friend Joanna worked at Thrive. Like, I had lots of friends that worked there.
Rhinus?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you make the switch to Thrive, and you're completely oblivious to the fact that you're being watched.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Completely.
Now this Rhonda person who I heard about at the gala, who
Yeah.
apparently was the founder of Thrive and had just a heart for single moms who were in crisis or were about to become a single mom, and started this 501c3 that's doing a lot of great work. Was she expecting to find her new executive director among her staff?
I think in a perfect world, that's what anyone would want.
Gotcha.
But she did not think. I think she was caught off guard. But that's what the Spirit does.
Yeah.
And she had, it's interesting because when I guess fast forward a little bit, when we announced to staff, nobody was surprised. And I was like, am I the only one sitting at this table that did not see this coming?
Yeah.
But that's how the Spirit, that's why community is so important.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be, is you're the only one that's surprised. Everybody else sees it in you, and yet you're not you're not so lack of humility that you can't see it or
Right.
you miss it. No, I wasn't thinking that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny. I had Rhonda had requested a meeting with me to go over resources on a Monday morning. And I remember being, okay, she's busy. I'm busy. Why are we doing this? Why can't she just email me or chat? Like I was annoyed. And we sat down and she had been talking to all staff about the applicant she was interviewing. I mean, she had been doing her ED search for, I don't really know, maybe close to a year at that point.
So you knew she was leaving?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We didn't know when.
Yeah.
But she did want to hand it off to someone.
Sorry, I just have to put this little context because Martin's got us jumping around. I'm blaming Martin. No, just kidding, Martin.
There's a lot to it's
for the listeners, you're 26 years old.
Yes.
So you've been a nurse a grand total of about 4 years at the time. And so we're not looking for the executive director of a 501c3 medical clinic. And so that's why that you're completely oblivious. But carry on. So you're annoyed in this meeting.
Yes.
Yeah. Or that the meeting's going to happen.
That the meeting's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we're just starting off the work week. Why would we do this Monday morning? Like, it just, that's just not the way you go about the work week. But that's what's funny is I'd only done shift work in the hospital. And so there was a lot of learning, like, how does an office work, an organization that's not, honestly, that's not months in, like how does all this work? Because all my experience, I was a nursing assistant and then I was a nurse and that's all I knew. So steep learning curve and in so many ways. But she sat down with me and she had been talking to staff about the applicant she was meeting. And so it wasn't bizarre for her to be talking about the ED. She's like, I just need to air out some things. I think that this new ED needs to have these qualities. And she's like, I want to know what you think based on what you see in the staff. I'm like, yeah, I think this person needs to have that. Yeah, I agree with you there. And she goes, so you have all of those.
Mic drop from Rhonda. I love her. I don't even know her. Yeah.
That's
how to do it.
I felt so cornered because it was great strategy.
Yeah.
And I think it was very gentle, but it didn't feel gentle.
Wow.
Because it completely,
Pulled was the rug out from under you.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And then I said, I can't, like, don't look at me for a week. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to, because she asked me to consider it at that point. And then I had to just go about my day.
Keep gathering resources. Just do your thing.
And I was like, oh my gosh, does she understand what she just said? And then it was just moment by moment. We had a unanimous board vote, and that was crazy because I was like, well, surely we won't get that far, you know? It's like at that point I was 24. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is quite
So
nuts.
I'm assuming you prayed about it.
Oh, so much.
And
yes.
What did you learn in that process?
I learned that I think similar to like manna for the day, he didn't give me more than I could handle. If I had known, which I talked about on stage at the gala, if I had known what he was up to, I would have been frozen with fear. And, you know, fear is also pride, and there would be no humility in that. I needed to be walked through it. And so it was moment by moment. And if you let him guide you, he guides you.
Wow.
Now, I had the opportunity to meet Rhonda as the director, and I don't know her well. I was immediately impressed with her. I was blown away by what Thrive does, but I do know enough about her to know that she is subtle in her delivery, and she has a unique place in my story in just that I asked a question and her answer was so telling and so directive that it was probably 10 years later that I looked back and I was like, what she said is what I ended up doing.
Wow.
And so I look at her as one of those people that is very intentional. And it sounds like that's the process that you walk through, is with her watching and seeing and considering and then planning out how to do this so that you didn't freak out and run away. That's amazing.
And it's interesting too, because she did it in a way that she wanted to put it all out there so that way if this wasn't, she wanted it to be good for me too. Like I think towards the end she started feeling very protective of me and like this job can eat people alive.
Oh yeah.
Just like leadership is just the worst.
And the best.
And the best.
Yes.
But it's so like people.
Yeah.
The worst and the best.
The worst and the best. Yeah.
And so she wanted to make sure that I had the reality check and that she scared me into facing this for what it was without scaring me off from considering it.
Without rose-colored glasses, she explained to you what, and this might surprise our listeners, but you know, you're not dealing with anybody and everybody that loves what Thrive is doing. Now, we're huge fans and we love it, but I think there's an assumption that the whole world loves what you're doing, or at least those people that would interact with your services are all going to love what you're doing. But you do face a ton of backlash, criticism, and even those that seemingly are on the same side have a lot to say. And that was Rhonda and I's conversation when we actually began partnering with Thrive was, hey, we'd love to partner with you. And she was excited because not even all churches will get behind what Thrive is doing. And that was eye-opening to me. How have you dealt with that? I mean, you are young in this, right? You've kind of alluded to that a lot. How are you dealing with that as you realize that, I know she prepped you, but the reality comes, wait a minute, I thought we were on the same team.
So before you answer that question, I'm going to drive the ship for a minute. We're going to tell our listeners, because we haven't really done that, tell them exactly what Thrive is and like how would you present it at a church? Just for the listener that isn't up to speed on all of our outreach stuff. And then let's get to that really good question because it's a really tricky thing. So
yeah, there really is so much to talk about.
Right.
There's so much. Yeah.
So what are the services? What are the services that Thrive provides?
Yeah. So we specialize in confirmation ultrasounds for or that early confirmation of pregnancy. So we're nonprofit licensed medical clinic, and we're trying to be capital C church, which honestly, everyone's role and everyone's work is hopefully striving after the way of Jesus. So capital C church.
Right.
We are here to provide the ultrasound as well as information on all of the options someone may be considering for their pregnancy. Within this culture, within this country, within our state, there are certain options that women can pursue once a pregnancy is confirmed. Depending on how far along she is, different options are available, whether that's medical abortion, surgical abortion, all of these different things. And some people, they may only be considering parenting and adoption. Those are also options. So we're only going to talk through the options that the person is ready to talk through and wants to learn about. So the objective things that we're delivering are that ultrasound, information on all their options, as well as resources on the local, state, and national level to help empower people to see that they don't have to move super, super fast. They have time to figure things out, and they have people ready to walk with them day one.
So a single mom, a girl who finds herself pregnant, who at that point is
Many
a
of our
single
patients
mom,
are married.
or married.
Yeah.
Okay. They
So
find
that's
that there's
helpful.
an unplanned pregnancy.
Yep.
They will contact you and they have this ultrasound opportunity and someone that wants to walk them through this. So someone just doesn't make a snap decision. And for some of them, at least some of the stories that I heard, finding out that, if I do want to have this child, there are people that will walk through this with me, whether I give the child up for adoption or if I choose to live as a mom on my own. And also, I heard at the gala, which I was not aware, that there was also help for the father, right? That there's these two people that were involved in this pregnancy, that there were resources and there's people ready to walk through that.
Yep.
Am I correct so far?
Yep.
I'm just trying to get the whole grasp.
Yeah, we're here to empower informed decisions and empower people to make healthy decisions that they have the full grasp of, because we can't change minds and hearts.
Right, right. But by being the hands and feet of Jesus, with compassion, and then with resources, it's shocking how many people that, like Martin said, it isn't just churches. It probably started with individuals. Some of the largest donors, I'm assuming, and you don't have to give up any information that you want to, but they're individuals and churches together that that are coming together to support this, because it doesn't just happen on its own. There's a facility, there's highly technical and expensive equipment. You got to have a website. You got to let people know that you're available. It's a highly charged, as Martin was alluding to, political issue. Now, there's a scripture I wanted to kind of guide us with just a little bit or there's two actually that I was thinking about, of why I think your ministry is so close to the heart of Jesus. Psalm 68, 4 and 5. The psalmist says, "Sing to God, sing praises to his name. Lift up a song to him who rides through the deserts. His name is the Lord. Exult before him." And then verse 5, "Father of the fatherless and protector of widows is God in his holy habitation." So you can do a Bible search and go, I want to see where single moms are in the Bible. You're not going to find the phrase single mom. And as you've said, there's married couples, there's people within the church, there's people outside the church. But someone who's alone, who's feeling very alone, like the classic example I've always referred to as a widow, whether the biological dad is living or not, this is the same state, as we look at them.
Exactly what you're saying. Yeah, the way I explain it to people that don't have it feels like a privilege to meet these men and women. It's so special because the vulnerability it takes to share when you're in a situation that culture deems as should be private, you should be isolated, you shouldn't tell people all of this, and the shame and guilt that people feel to even be considering the options that they are, and then to follow through on an option that they're not confident about, all the things. It's a privilege to meet with them in that space. It just feels very sacred. But the people that are vulnerable to abortion, to choosing abortion, mom, dad, and child, that is the hurting, that is the widow, that is the orphan.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be financial constraints, it may not be unstable housing, it could be those things.
Right.
But if someone is considering abortion, to end that life is not, they don't want an abortion, they want to not be pregnant.
Right.
But at that point, the pregnancy is confirmed.
That's right.
And so to be considering abortion as an option, those are the most vulnerable people.
Yeah.
It's a cry for help to be considering abortion.
Right.
Something isn't. I look back to conversations I've had with women when they realize that they're loved, it changes everything.
Wow.
And many times we see women who have a mercy mindset that informs their decision to have an abortion. I have 5 kids of my own. I can barely care for them well. I can't bring another child into this fold because I can't not provide for that child and further deter the care that I'm trying to give to these other 5.
Right. That's going to be dispersed even more.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that a lot of these women just see this as the only means
Yes.
to the only end that they can justify in their own mercy-based mindset.
Yeah.
And I think that it's easy sometimes to negate that and to think that, no, everybody's just doing it for a selfish reason, something else, to relegate it to something that it's often not.
Or culture paints it in a false light as well,
Right.
and just taking culture's word for it.
Yeah.
clump of cells and,
Right.
all of those things.
And you offer other means by which to a different end.
Yep.
And that's, okay.
And it's also telling someone who has never heard, if you want to, you would be a great mom. Look at all these things that you're already doing. You're already learning about all these options because you're trying to really handle this pregnancy while you're in such a crisis mode. Like, look at what you're already doing. You're already advocating. You would be a great parent to this child. And we are careful with what we say because the people we're serving don't want to be mom or dad.
Mm-hmm.
From where I stand, that baby is a baby. You are a mom and a dad.
Right.
And it may not be until later on down the road that they're able to face like, oh, I am mom, even though I chose abortion and I may not have other children. Right. So
one of the thoughts that I'm connecting here is, and this is why we Thrive, is I'm 55 and I was a history, government, political science major. And so before the show, we were even talking about how this informs where we are in the political realm, right? But it's become such a highly charged, back to Martin's original question, issue, is it's easy even within the church to just focus, as you just said, on the ethics, the right or wrong involving the child, and to be so or have so much tunnel vision that it's reduced to a political issue, and we forget that there's two other people that's involved in this situation, that there's a mom or a dad. And I'll say the church, for, ever since Roe v. Wade, has become singularly focused. And I'm not dismissing that. Yeah, I'm thankful for people that are fighting the really gross wars in the political realms, that are fighting for the rights of the unborn. In Jeremiah 1, verse 5, the Lord says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." And he's speaking about Jeremiah. "I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." In Psalm 139, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made," and on and on and on. But the way you just articulated that was that there's also a mom and a dad. And on every forehead, we've talked about this before, we try to imagine the words, "For whom Christ died." Even the person who is working hard for abortion rights, the same way that someone is working for pro-life, the same people that come to your clinic, the mom, the dad, and of course the unborn. And if, that's a story I didn't even contemplate, is that there's a mom with 5 other children.
Yeah.
And so you're dealing with all of these people. This is NICU experience times 1,000.
It's wild because in the ER, that was when that reality hit me, is like it's almost because of God's grace and my experiences that I've had to learn and grow in those experiences. It feels very simple, or like for whom Christ died.
Yeah.
Like, well, that adult was a child once.
Yeah.
We were all children. And the way I'm trying to meet patients where they are, I have to do that with my people and the church. And we are all so much more similar than we are different. And I'm always saying there's nothing new under the sun, because that's what the Bible says. And that's been my experience thus far.
That's good.
But for some, it was a reality check for me in the ER to be caring for people that were hurting. And in their crisis moment, were treating me terribly as their nurse. But when that became my day-to-day, it's a special day for this person who's in crisis, but this is my day-to-day.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to bring Jesus to work because I couldn't go through the motions and also see these adults as children. It was so hard. I almost had to be a little calloused.
Yeah,
because it's hard.
You have to detach from that or you'll just be a puddle.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll be a puddle at the end of the day.
Yeah. And that's what Solomon, that is what it is.
Yeah, true.
And the Lord is good. And if I'm not a puddle, it's because of him that he's working through me. And so I'm glad that you brought that up, because for me, I forget that I have to communicate, like, that mom was a child once.
Yeah.
These are all.
Well, and I just want to thank you, because Thrive is rare in this field in that the mom and the dad. I see that oftentimes the child is obviously the first focus, and I understand why that is. I think we all go to that place. But the mom is often cared for in these moments within pregnancy care centers. But the father is often the outcast. It may even go as far as like he's going to feel as if, well, this is just my fault. And there's often not anybody to talk to him. There's not any consideration of having been, not personally, but through close family, sitting with the husband or the man in that moment. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do with that. And to recognize that, hey, these are all people that were children, that were knit together in their mother's wombs.
Yep.
They were given the gift of life, and the life has not always been easy for them. There are circumstances that led them here. But to have people like you guys have, I know in the past that you've had a good friend of mine, Stephen Scott, was on staff there for a while as kind of the male counselor, I guess. I don't know what he does, but how do you interact with the man in these situations? Because I've been to your clinic. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's definitely set up more for women. It's a little intimidating.
Totally.
It's clean, it's crisp, it's comfortable. But as a dude, I'm like, this is like a salon. I'm uncomfortable here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I took over, not this past January, but the January before. So it's been like a year and a half-ish. And when I came on, I think Stephen was just exiting.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's got his practice now. It's so great. He's wonderful. And what's tricky is that, which I'm always reminding the staff of this, when these people first walk through the door, they're here for an ultrasound. They're not here to talk to you. You can't expect them to be here when they came for the ultrasound. And how much more is that true for the men who, in their experience, this appointment is for her. And I'm just here, and I'm not prepared to talk to anyone. I'm not prepared to experience anything. An ultrasound is a medical procedure.
That's all I want.
So it's a big jump to think that we can be a safe place for him. But Jesus died and was resurrected, and every human needs a safe place. And so for the Bible to be true, it's almost like, well, what's true of me in the Bible is true for all of these people who may not know Jesus. And so if we can invite, that is a goal we can attain. If we can be a safe place, whether they take us up on it the day of, that's a goal that we can attain. And so with the men, we were finding that we hadn't kind of found that sweet spot to care for them well. Because we have high standards for caring for people well. They felt cared for. All their exit surveys said they felt cared for, and they were talking to Stephen and all those things. But it's like, how much more could we meet them where they are? And so what's helpful is that we have those, like learning about options, the ultrasound, and the resources that are very objective things. They're tools. And so I am trying to build a foundation for men, because Stephen was on staff and it was tricky to have the men engage.
Right.
Because you have to learn them.
Yeah, we don't want to walk in and have an emotional conversation like, hey, here's our counselor.
No.
The tools probably make a lot of sense, because every guy is like, hey, just give me some tools.
They do. So they feel very cared for right now, even within our all-female staff at the moment.
That's awesome.
But I've got things cooking. So I actually have, we're going to have a guy volunteering here soon who's going to help me build the foundation for the men. Because right now I can't, donor funded, stewarding those funds really well.
Yeah.
I can't pay for someone to be on staff with counseling experience when I don't even know how to get the men to engage further than just that one appointment. And sometimes the partner doesn't come in. So it's a dance. It's an ED dance right now. But they do feel really cared for. And it's interesting. We had a dad come in who was very much, abortion is the only thing that we're going to do. And his wife was like, as she learned about all the resources and she saw the ultrasound and all these things, she decided a few weeks later, she's like, I decided that I'm going to parent with or without him. And so that's what the conversation became, instead of, well, we can't parent, but then she saw all the resources and that she has support. Well, I'm going to do this with or without him. And months go by, baby's born. We see him again, and he's like, I want to reassure you. It was almost like, I want to reassure you guys. My wife is the best. I'm with her 100%. I'm here. This is great. I'm excited. So it was almost like we established a safe place for him where he didn't feel pressure by us, but he felt seen. And he almost wanted to like deliver an update, like, hey,
wow.
just so you know, and not in a way like, hey, I know I failed your test before, but I'm passing now. It wasn't like that. It was like communicating, hey, I'm in her court and we're gonna be just fine.
Do you think maybe he was almost like saying, hey, we're on the same team now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's hard is culture depicts friend or enemy, and there's no in between, but it's like we're all a mess and we're all just trying to figure it out, and every human is valuable, and there's ways where people can feel seen, but you have to learn them. So everything that we do, whether it's marketing on a website or the things that we say during appointments, that is based on things we learned from feedback from patients. So
gotcha.
The words that you see on our website are words that patients have said on the phone that we saw a pattern with. So it's like, oh, these things resonate. Yeah. This is how we meet them where they are.
Do you mean the 250? Like, there's so many reviews, I couldn't get through them.
There's so many.
It was beautiful. I'm like, wow.
So this is
it makes it easy for us. We just keep adding.
Like, I assume this is the front door of this little picture off the website. So it says Thrive Medical Clinic, pregnancy solutions, resources, and support. If you go up to the top, it says, at Thrive, you confirm if you're really pregnant, determine how far along you are, verify the location of the pregnancy, and get information about your pregnancy options so you can plan your next steps with confidence. It's our desire to equip you with solutions, resources, and support that you need to thrive. One of the things that I want to make clear that became clear at the gala and even more clear in talking to you is this is not a Christian ministry ambush. This is genuine care for real, living, breathing people that came through with the testimonials of women that you showed on your video, but also through, like, I'm hearing the heart of it right now. What I mean by an ambush is we're not here to be the opposite of another team. We're here to be like Jesus, right? And say, how do we love you in the space that you're in? This is who we're for. But to make clear, it also says at the bottom, because I read the fine print.
Yeah.
It says that Thrive Medical Clinic specializes in pregnancy confirmation and does not perform abortions, nor do we offer abortion referrals. And so it's not like we're done with you. One of the things that that I learned at the gala was that even when a woman makes a choice to not go through with this pregnancy, there's still support for her.
Yeah, they can keep coming in.
Because my understanding, you're the expert at this table. You got dudes here that are just making stuff up as they go along. But my understanding is there's not a lot of that provided at a place where, like, if a woman does have an abortion, the care for her afterwards. I mean, I've heard horror stories about that. And here, what I think I heard from you was that, we still love these people on the other side of something horrific like that, which you said yourself. No one really wants to have to go through that. when you meet them, they don't want to be pregnant.
Yeah.
It isn't that they want to have an abortion. It's they don't even want to be pregnant. They don't want to be
pregnant. Yeah. They don't want to be mom. They don't want to be dad.
But back to your point is where, I mean, call it what it is. We live in cancel culture, you know. When we talk about God's heart for life, even in church, I have to be careful because there's any number of women who have already made that choice at some point in their life or their teenage years or even recently that I don't know about, maybe because they had to or they were faced with those extreme cases.
Coercion is so common.
Yeah.
I mean, I met with a patient who, as a child, she had 6 abortions because that family was very unsafe and that was the norm. And then she was pregnant with her husband. And so that appointment, she wasn't considering abortion as an option, but abortion had a huge effect on this pregnancy. And she was scared out of her mind to then learn about abortion and what had happened in her body. Like, there's just so much. And then I met with a patient who came in, the only option that they were going to consider was abortion. And then she was describing symptoms of miscarriage, which we can't diagnose at the clinic. But we also aren't going to dance around the fact that it sounds like this could be happening. The next step is seeing a doctor. And then she was like, I feel like I don't have permission to feel like grief right now because I was going to end this pregnancy anyway. But now I feel sad that I'm losing this baby. I feel like I'm not allowed to feel all those things. And so then that room became a sacred space where she's able to talk about all of these conflicting feelings, which I would say is common among our patients. They're coming in with conflicting feelings. Many of them vocalize like, I'm pro-choice, but I feel like I don't have a choice and I don't know what's happening because culture's been saying this, this, and this.
But now I'm
pregnant.
pregnant.
And now I'm here and I'm living it. And that's not what was marketed is not what's happening.
Isn't that crazy? I think we talked about that upstairs. It's one thing to talk about it from the pulpit or the political podium. There's a lot of P's in there because I'm a preacher and we do that naturally. But to actually experience it is totally different.
Yeah.
To live it.
It's totally different. Now you're dealing with the reals. Now you're dealing with the what ifs. And you guys have that opportunity to meet them right there.
Mm-hmm.
So here's another thing. And this is, I'm excited about this. And so we're sitting at the gala and Lily had brought this up to me before. So if you don't know who Lily is, Lily's my daughter. She actually is employed at Thrive. She's been a part of their graphics team. Now she's moved to Grand Rapids. I don't know what she's doing. That's a different topic. But she had mentioned these little flyers, posters. You see them in the restrooms.
Bathroom flyers, yep.
Bathroom flyers on the inside of a stall.
Yep.
And she had said something before, but that little gremlin didn't follow up, right? And then I don't want to blame her, it's probably my fault. But
I remember words like thick skull is what I heard.
Oh gosh, whatever. I got 5 kids, man. So there was an opportunity to pick up some of those for your church.
There are so many resources.
Tell us what those are, because the moment I heard about it, Thick Skull said, yeah, we're doing it. And there was a staff person at my table who happens to work with the kids ministry. And I said, Haley, I'd like you to pick up a bunch of those. We're going to put them in all the ladies' bathrooms at our church. And we should probably consider putting them in men's.
And I immediately
too.
said, we need enough for the guys too. So.
You did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And so she's picking them all up. And then somebody was like the next week, we need to put this on the leadership team agenda. And I was like, no, we don't. We already made the call.
It's done.
I get to make very few calls around here, and I'm making this call. So tell us what they are and why they're there, like the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What are they going to say, and then why are they there?
So big, I guess first high level, Thrive can only do so much. It really is up to Christ's church, Christ's bride, to be a safe place for people, just as Jesus was a safe place for others. And so within each person's sphere of influence, Thrive can't be that for everyone.
Right.
And so how can we equip the church to be a safe place for others, whether that is you communicating to your 10-year-old and being a safe place for her. If you were to ever be in an unplanned pregnancy or one of your friends, I want you to know these things, at the forefront. And then when she's in an unplanned pregnancy, when she's 29, those things that are said are brought to the surface when that lived experience starts happening for people. And so many times these flippant things that patients' parents said when they were in middle school all of a sudden are the only thing
really
facing and preventing them from sharing because they're expecting to be met with condemnation. Yeah.
So let's pause there for a second.
Yeah.
I can vividly remember, I told you I have 5 children.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation with 4 of my daughters. I should probably also have it with my son. But I've told every single one.
Bring him down here.
Yeah. No, I've told every single one of them, hey, by the way, if you ever find yourself pregnant and you don't want to be, and they're always like, Dad, stop. And I go, no, you have to hear this out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I said, you will not be rejected. You will not be abandoned. That child will be cared for, even if I have to raise that child myself. I said it, now go to your room. And they're like, oh, you're so dumb, da-da-da-da-da. But I felt like, so you're saying that's the right thing to say?
Well, well, I don't know, right and wrong.
At least not the wrong thing. Right.
We're all just trying to be like Jesus, and I think that is we're all just trying to take a stab at it.
Yeah,
and I think
no
that's
shame, no guilt,
I think that's parenting
no
too.
whatever.
It's like, how can I fail less than I did before?
Because we're all going to scar our kids. And if that's the worst scarring that I did was have that awkward convo. But it was like, Dad, I'm not going to do that. It's like, you don't know, and I don't know, but I'm just telling you this.
But then it's
worst case,
even
I'm on your team.
Kiddos, their spheres of influence, they're going to go, okay, my friend doesn't have a safe place, but my dad has already said that he wouldn't reject me, and so he can be safe for her. So I'm going to connect. And how amazing would that be? Because, I wasn't raised in the church as tradition, typically the way others are. And so I didn't start coming to church for Jesus. I started coming to church because I was meeting people that were living in a way that I admired. I didn't come for Jesus. And then I got to meet Jesus, and now I come for Jesus.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And so if I can take that and give people reasons to have the church be a part of their story, they'll experience Jesus through that.
Got it.
And so with these resources, were you about to ask a question?
Oh, sorry. Before you do.
Because I haven't even finished that question.
Yeah.
There's so much.
Yeah, because
this is fun.
I sit in a leadership team meeting with this guy, and the next question will come before we got back to the first one, but I'm a bulldog. So those flyers in the bathroom, what do they say, and why are they there?
I can't tell you verbatim what they say, but
I know what they communicate.
But
Are you in an unplanned pregnancy? Do you need support? Do you want to know what your options are? Contact
Here's
Thrive.
what we do. Contact
Boom.
Thrive. Yep.
Because in the church, are the stats that much different than in the world?
No. So I don't know this stat off the top of my head.
They're very similar. You shared them at the gala.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
all in
either.
our website and all the things. But I think it's something like 60% of women were attending a church at least monthly during the time of one of their abortions.
Yeah. Yes.
I think at first glance, the bathroom flyers feel like, okay, well, this flyer is for one, if not 0 people in my congregation that are actively facing an unplanned pregnancy.
Not true.
It isn't true.
Yeah.
It's not. And it does more than that, though. It's communicating to everyone that this is a safe place.
Bingo.
For people in an unplanned pregnancy. So just like your kids and their sphere of influence, they know dad's a safe place. This is doing that on a grander scale, which it's funny that marketing can be used in this way to be capital C church, but that is exactly why it's important that your work is ministry, because it is. And so these beautiful graphics that Lily made
Lily, yeah.
are communicating to the high schoolers that use the bathroom, the grandmothers that have grandchildren and nieces and nephews. I mean, when do people start reading? 4 or 5? 6? It's an easy to read flyer.
Yeah.
That's a wild thing to see at your church.
And I never thought about it from that perspective, because it's not just communicating the immediate need help for the person in that situation.
Correct.
You're also communicating, if we follow the domino chain in reverse, that not only is that what Thrive is about, this is what this church is about.
Yeah.
And if this is what this church is about, most importantly, this is who Jesus is about.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's showing compassion, and it's just at a grand scale, which is the type of church we want to be.
Yeah.
An authentic church that loves people where they're at. Sorry, Martin. So you were trying to get into a new territory.
No.
And I was stuck on bathroom flyers.
Actually, I love what you guys are saying, because it creates a culture. We were talking upstairs just about the culture that you create in an environment like this that reminds people of, in all circumstances, so that if ever they are.
Yep.
But the question that's been on my mind is, there are listeners out there right now that are recoiling, that are struggling with this, because in their head, a flyer in the bathroom means almost condoning, right?
Yeah.
But if we don't condemn our children for sex outside of wedlock, then they will get plain. Like, they're taking this in a totally different direction. What would you say to those that say that these pieces of the puzzle that we're trying to do to build a culture, that we're being soft on this? Because I'm 100% with you. I have believed since the moment I came here. Do you remember what you told me in my...
Sorry, get to the question.
Well,
sorry.
No, because this speaks to the culture here.
Yeah.
We are not going to be a church that condemns abortion without also offering for those mothers that have been through it something as well. And then we find Thrive, and this fits. So what would you say to those people that are struggling with this, going, oh, that's too soft, it's going to breed, more sin, more unplanned pregnancies, it's just going to be worse and worse and worse?
I want to meet that with compassion, because I understand. It's almost like fear is loud for someone in unplanned pregnancy. Fear is loud for followers of Christ. Like, it's hard to not live in fear,
or to
and
be
to
ruled
be
by fear.
ruled. Yeah. I'm scarcity mindset. That's how I roll. That's my.
I'm reading
my
the book
bent.
right now.
Oh.
Jamie Winship. Yeah.
Oh, you have to tell me about it after.
Yeah.
And I think it is scary to face the fact that you can't control people. That feels scary. And there's a lot of unknown in that. And I'm not a parent yet, but I can only imagine that is 1,000 times magnified, if not infinity. And you can't control people. What you can control is how you influence others. So you can't control their actions, but you can control the way that you live your life, and that affects people. And so I understand the motivation, and that's sort of what Thrive gets to do. Is the motivation of supporters is to love patients. And the way that patients feel loved is also relevant. The way people feel loved that can't not be a part. Like, I'm loving you. Why don't you feel loved? Like, I'm loving you. So what's the miss? And so, I think there's a lot of things that are communicated in love that can be hurtful. And so, yeah, I think it's about being like, to be a safe place for that person in the unplanned pregnancy. You can't.
I agree.
I don't know how to explain.
I think it's important to acknowledge too, the previous perspective had its chance and failed miserably. There was an entire generation of abstinence attempts and forcing people to make these decisions, or trying to control people, to your point. And it didn't change hearts and minds. It didn't introduce them to Christ. It just tried for behavior modification, and it has not been successful. There's a lot of broken people that are living this out that we're seeing in these situations now because of the guilt and shame that they live with.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be careful here because the person that I'm referring to is very close to me. But I remember sitting on a bedside, looking this woman in the eye and asking her and talking to her, sharing her with Christ what salvation looked like. And her only reservation to accepting Christ was, He cannot forgive me for the abortion that I had.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only thing between her and Jesus, because an entire generation convinced her that sin, more than anything else, was the one that Jesus couldn't forgive her.
Mm-hmm.
And it broke my heart. And it was years of conversation and years of prayer before she was able to begin to accept that Christ could, even though she couldn't. I think that when we talk about it, there's a different methodology is probably worth looking at.
I think that's what people who support Thrive and patients who engage in the services view as different at Thrive. It's almost like the way things are done stand out because we aren't here for anything but to love people. And sometimes we're not going to do that right. We need to learn from the people who we're trying to love.
Right.
But it's like in that room with those people when they take the chance and trust you. All that's there, all that there's room for is just this love for them. And there is no condemnation in Christ.
Good. Romans 8:1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is none. And when you are present with them and loving them, there truly isn't room for it.
Right.
In that room.
So you're 26 and
Yes.
you speak with a wisdom that is beyond your years. I'm just going to say that right now. So Rhonda put the right person, in my opinion, in the you credited the Holy Spirit, but it was obviously the Spirit in her was directing her to this, because a 26-year-old shouldn't be able to speak with this. And even in some of your caution, in choosing the right words, it's again because this is such a volatile issue within this country, within the church. And I think what we love the most is that this is just a new way to be Jesus with skin on to people. And some of the most marginalized within the church, and not on purpose. I think what Martin was, he was using very strong language there in his opinion. He's saying, wow, they've failed miserably. These are people that you chose to say, this is also people for whom Christ died. And they feel very passionate about something.
Yeah.
But this is just a new way to look at it, which is why it's so enamoring and it's so intriguing. So you're the new executive director, and you, I'm sure, face shots from outside the church, from, as Martin was alluding to, possibly inside the church. Or if it's not shots, it's misunderstanding. But if you can keep that, whatever this is, like that genuine love, care, compassion, wanting to be grace, no condemnation, that's the only way that you're not going to be a puddle. And so we need to pray for you.
Please, yes.
Yes. How can, sorry, I want to land this plane just a little bit here, but what is your budget right now and what are the budget needs? You shared it at the gala,
yes.
And I was telling my buddy to get his checkbook out because he's a man that can do it. I mean, not Martin, but this other dude.
Yeah, so we have an impact report on our friendsofTMC.org tmc.org website.
Yeah.
And there's a link to our impact report. And I should know these things off the top of my head,
okay.
but it's within like the 900,000.
Right. That's the current budget.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a facility, there's very expensive equipment. How many staff do you have right now,
right
full
now
and
we
part-time?
have 12.
12 staff.
Yep. I think 12.
Are they all full-time? Or
No,
some
are part-time.
Some are also part-time.
Mm-hmm. I think 6 or 7 are full-time.
Do you know if you're fully funded for the next year? Sorry, I'm asking you this right online.
The hope is that we can pay off our mortgage because we...
Oh, that's right. The chairman of the board shared that.
Yes.
He was the guy that was all fired up about the little hump in the driveway.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
It's gone.
Oh, you should have heard this. It was like a comedy act the whole time. He kept showing us videos and he was making his microphone.
The one coming
feedback.
right off the
Yeah,
main
it's
road.
gone.
Yeah,
Oh,
that everyone
that's a gift.
hits.
It's
It has
gone.
been his pet peeve, but that's a huge deal.
Well, it's
Yeah.
one of those things where it is like the straw that breaks the camel's back for our patients that are already having the worst day of their lives.
Yeah.
And so they come in all shook up because they dinged their car on the hump.
Right.
And it's really, really sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad. And then we've got our sweet volunteers that are just here to help, and then
and
they
they're doing
ding their
the
car
same
too.
thing. My daughter Lily said, I hated that hump.
It's a
she'd
big
hit it
deal.
more
Yeah.
than once. So you've got a staff that we can pray for. There's a need that, like a financial need
Yeah.
that we can pray for. You can go to thrivemedicalclinic.org if you want to get behind this. Because as I said at the beginning, it's not just churches that are supporting this. It seemed to me that the vast majority of the people were individual donors.
Yes, that's our
And-
majority. Yep.
And I'm not, of the people that I knew there, I'm not just talking about wealthy people. There were families that just loved Jesus that I had from our church that I had no idea would be there. And they're there because he owns his own he's in the trades, his own little business with his wife and his kids. And he had his whole family there, all daughters, right? And they're 100% behind Thrive. And so I'm talking to you, podcast family, I think there's a way that they can give right online, or at least find the information how to give that right.
There is. And the friendsoftmc.org website is a website specifically for supporters.
I'm going there.
It's
Friends
a little
of
bit
TMC.
trickier to find because we don't want it to be too tied to our patient website.
Gotcha.
Because for someone who's in an unplanned pregnancy, that just isn't really relevant at that point.
It's friendsoftmc.org?
Yep.
So let me give that one. So we have thrivemedicalclinic.com. That is the front door. And the Friends of TMC, this is if you want to get behind this and be a part of this, get information on it.
You can watch
there's a picture of AJ
testimonials.
right there. What's he doing in there? Oh, he was
He
just
has
a
an
model.
adorable child, yeah.
Because he has an adorable child. So friendsoftmc.org. But how can we specifically pray for you and your staff and the ministry? I'm going to say the ministry of Thrive Medical Clinic.
We really do need so much prayer. It's really heavy, and it's very easy to feel heavy by all of the decision making, whether you're in a patient room or you're about to make this bathroom flyer that's going to affect people, or you're an ED and you're still trying to develop your frontal lobe. It's like
You're talking about yourself.
Yeah.
No, it's formed. You're 26. That happens at 25. I do remember that from math or from science class. Yeah.
So I would say too, what's been very clear is like at the clinic and being a ministry, there's definitely this is a spiritual battle. We're not here making enemies of people who choose abortion or Planned Parenthood or people who vote differently. That it just really is not
That's well
true.
said. That's well said.
It's not true.
That's the maturity I'm talking about. Because I've seen people 3 times your age that don't get what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
I think
You
I was
just got me
telling you
fired up
this.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was telling you this. A lot of people, they'll start working at Planned Parenthood because of the same motivation that people start working at a clinic like Thrive, because they want to care for people in unplanned pregnancy. And they may not have the full picture and they may not be where you think they ought to be in their walk with Jesus or lack thereof, but every human's valuable, and these humans aren't the enemy. And so prayer is the lifeline. We pray each morning, and we're able to pray for specific patients. And we also are praying for, we don't want mission drift. We want to be very, very set on this path and where God's taking us, which we only know day to day.
Right.
So I guess it would be helpful to, it's just encouragement, and it can feel isolating.
Yeah.
From time to time, I get an email from you guys. I don't know if that's specific to like sponsors, donors, who or what, but there are prayer requests that come out in those that are very specific and beautiful, because they kind of update you and remind you what's going on in a world that I don't enter as often.
Yep. They're patient prayer requests.
Is that like a newsletter? Is that just to people?
It's just our email list. Okay. Yeah. So you can add yourself to the email list, and we'll send, it's almost, what's the word? It paints the picture like the people that we're sending prayer requests for are the only people coming through the door. But we're so busy, we can't send prayer requests for everyone, because then we wouldn't be able to sit down with people.
Right. I appreciate it, because it just reminds me to pray like big picture for
definitely.
Thrive.
Yes.
But typically that's a moment where I just get to be reminded.
Yeah. And it's amazing. I mean, people share those at the dinner table, and we have people of all ages. I mean, if you could just drive by and throw a prayer, that
absolutely
is all the things.
Yeah.
Because it's heavy, and we would just be a puddle. How can you be productive if you're a puddle?
We were leaving the gala after we take all the photos, because there was a photo booth there and people from our church, and we were just having a great time. And
I'm so glad to hear that.
Oh yeah, we did. It was.
I'm so glad
I think
you
I
had
told
a good
you that
time.
night. It was the perfect length. It was informative. There was emotions, and it was professional, and the food was great. And we go to pick up the grandkids because, as I told you, my daughter and her husband came along with my wife and I. We carpooled. We're picking up my granddaughter, Avy, who's perfect. And Avy found one of the flyers in the back of the car, and she's like, Mammy, who's this? Who's that beautiful baby?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, so it's having an impact all the way to a 4-year-old.
Oh.
And then it was funny listening to my daughter try to explain who the baby was and that Lily made the flyer. It was just weird, right? But 2024 by the numbers, this is from your impact report. 801 times a patient walked through Thrive's doors to engage in one of the more services. 219 patients came for the first time. There was 186 pregnancy option consultations, 170 ultrasounds performed, 31 pregnancy tests administered, 160 mentorship appointments, and then over $114,000 plus of Thrive supplies given to patients because there's care. We've done the baby bottle drive and the
baby bottle
things
boomerang is our number one fundraiser.
Right.
It is a big, big deal. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Just a bunch of change.
59 volunteers serving 550 hours. And then I like this one. In Thrive's exit surveys, 100% of patients agree that 1, the staff equipped me with useful information about the options regarding a pregnancy. 2, the staff seemed interested in me and my needs. And 3, I would recommend Thrive Medical Clinic to a friend. That's something the church is striving for, and we don't always nail it.
And that survey is filled out by mom and dad.
Mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. 100% is no joke. I mean,
I know. It's like, make it big, Lily. Make it really big.
Make it big. Let's go. 100%. Yeah, no, that's good. So did we leave anything out that you would want, mostly church people, but not exclusively, just people to know about Thrive or how we can get behind it, or anything that you need to correct? You're the expert at this table.
Oh, man. I would encourage people to be curious, because we aren't scared of questions or hesitations or trying to seek understanding. We're all just trying to figure things out. And that's not unique to someone in unplanned pregnancy or someone who's trying to be a safe place to their grandchild. Yeah, we're all just trying to figure it out. And so we have patient resources where they're learning about their options, and we're meeting with them in mentorship so they know, okay, they told me they would be there for me. And so I made a decision based on the fact that they said they would be there, and then we get to be there, which is important. But then we also have resources for supporters. So that way people feel equipped to have conversations that feel so daunting because culture makes it feel like the scariest conversation to have with any human ever. So, which I think I said that at the gala, like be curious because the Spirit's doing all the work. Right. You just have to be willing to be used.
I love it. Thanks for being willing to be used.
Yeah, you too.
Martin, did we leave anything out that you're dying to?
No.
Another deep probing 4-part question for us?
I was going to say, we could talk for the rest of the day, and I would just be fascinated by everything you guys do. I'm just grateful for the work that you guys are doing. My first interaction with Thrive was to ask the question, like, hey, is somebody out there doing this good work? Like, this is the idea of the rights of the unborn was huge on my heart at that point. Now, I was younger and far more emotionally charged than I am these days. But walking in there, being curious and asking questions, it's like, these ladies, they're doing great work. Thanks for continuing that work.
Yeah, absolutely. Be curious and brace yourself. See what the Lord's going to do.
Right.
It can be crazy.
That
I'm sitting here is bizarre.
No, not bizarre, because Benji had 104 temperature. But I'm going to add to this. If you are a parent, and I'm speaking to moms and dads, but specifically to dads, because there's nothing more like God on earth to a child as a father. And that's not to diminish a mother, but moms and dads, I think it's important to have these conversations. And I think it's important to have conversations about sex. I think they should hear that from mom and dad. Before they hear about it at school.
Yeah, all of these things, if they're not hearing it from you, they're hearing it from someone else.
They're going to hear it from someone else. And then I would include in that, you don't have to do it exactly like I did. And I wasn't crass about it. I wasn't thick-skulled. It was always one-on-one, and it was the appropriate time, a daddy-daughter date or wherever. But I was specifically trying to fight against this right-hearted but wrong method communication to our children that I care so much more about you and the long game with you than your worst moment or a teenage mistake. That's why I said the things that I said to my daughters, which is, I will never turn my back on you. There is nothing you can do that will make me, because we learn about love from our parents, and we learn about God's love. He identifies as a father. We learn about that from dad. So I always put pressure. That's what we do at the Tab. We put the pressure on the dad. I think it's important for a dad to tell his daughter, to tell his son, that you will have unconditional love from me. I want you to make right choices. But if you don't make a right choice, here I am for you, and I'm not going to turn my back on you. And I think I told you a terrible story that I won't share on air. The first time we met at church, just how we can get wrong-headed in how passionate we are in our hatred of sin, that somehow the child starts feeling that pressure, well, I can never let dad down or mom down. And what they need to hear is, no, we want you to honor God with your life, with your body, with your choices. However, our love for you doesn't end when there's a mistake.
You are loved.
And that's what you guys are doing. You are loved. So, yeah, that's awesome.
I don't want dad to feel like he's isolated in that. That's community. That's church. 100%. And so have those conversations with other people.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So you don't feel like you're guessing on how to do that. And there's not a right or, like, we're all just trying to figure it out.
We're all trying
and
to
you're not alone.
No.
Like, there are people out there that have been through this, that are facing this.
Nothing new under the sun. No. Yeah. Yep.
Someone's been studying Ecclesiastes. Yeah. All right. So podcast family, please share this. Go to the Thrive Medical Clinic website. Go to Friends of TMC. Educate yourself. Talk about this with others. If you can share it on social media,
you absolutely can.
We would love for you to share it on social media.
I think you guys have some of our resources too.
Yes, we do. We have
saw them in your
stack of them.
Yeah.
I pass them to Martin to put them in the appropriate places.
You'll find flyers in our restrooms. You'll find a lot of the pamphlets and information around our church. And if you don't see it, then ask one of your pastors. Our campus pastors are knowledgeable, and we'll hopefully ask their administrator
Don't ask
where
me
it
where
is.
they are, though,
Yes,
because
don't
I'll
ask
send
them.
them to Martin. Lord Matthew Corey Hughes, thank you, executive producer. Do you have anything that you need to add to this? You're down. Are you glad that the hump's gone in the little driveway? Yeah. He's glad. The chairman of your board's glad. I'm glad because and Lily's glad because her Honda Accord bumper has already been through enough grief caused by me. So, Avery, thank you.
Thank you
for being with us. And maybe we can have you on again. Give us an update next year or what have you.
There's a lot to talk about too.
Yeah. We'll get some stories.
Mm-hmm.
Until next time, podcast family, this is Martin Rizzi, Executive Director Avery McCutcheon, Lord Matthew Corey Hughes, and me signing off.